Cheryl Cooley here of Klymaxx and talking about that great success period. You know, I was wondering if you were surprised at all, or if other band members were surprised that, you know, although of course Being in the Ladies' Room and Men All Pause were successful, it was the ballad, you know, that really crossed over and became the biggest hit. And, you know, was that a surprise at all that it was that type of song that got you to that level?
Yes, it was. It was. I mean, you know, we were a band that was in the high energy, you know, the Funketeers, or what, you know, we were really into the funky rhythms. And then for a ballad to be the one that was the most successful was a little surprising. Not a bad surprise, just a surprise.
So when that happened, was there thought in the group, or maybe even, you know, at your label, hey, you guys need to maybe keep more slow songs in mind?
No, that wasn't an idea. I mean, we knew that, you know, to offer our audience, you know, high energy songs as well as, you know, slow songs. I mean, you got to give them a variety. And that was something that we learned from that.
And what was the, you know, creative process like, Cheryl? You know, how much was it everyone getting together, just kind of jamming through stuff and coming up with things that you liked, and, you know, where the lyric ideas come from, and how much time did you spend in the studio versus, you know, in rehearsal and that kind of thing?
Right. Well, as with any music company, we still had to submit our music that we wrote individually or collectively. We still had to submit it to the record company for them to critique as to whether it would be commercial enough to sell records. I mean, the whole idea of a record company is that they want to sell records. So of course we, you know, would have to show them, okay, you know, we wrote this song, we put the song together. Can we put it on our next album? You know, either would be yay or nay, yes or no. So there was a lot of songs that were submitted that never made the album, but that's all part of the process. We also learned, you know, production, how to actually produce our own songs. So all of that was part of, you know, whether the song was going to continue or we would go back to the drawing board. As far as, you know, each album, I think we were able to expand our writing skills, our production skills, you know, what was it that the audience liked, what they didn't like. Of course, you know, they like to see us get up there and jam, but they also like the slow songs too.
Talk to me a little more about the road. You mentioned one of the tours you went out with. Is there anyone else that's really memorable that you toured with? Was there any show that really stands out? Maybe where, I don't know, you were in front of a huge throng of people that jumps out in your memory? And also, what was it like on the road for Klymaxx? You know, you hear all these, you know, tales from the road of debauchery with certain groups and things like that, you know, but especially being an all-female band, how was that compared to maybe what the guys do on the road?
Well, I think, well, I want to say I think the guys took it a little more seriously than we did. I mean, we didn't get so, we're having fun. We were having fun. I mean, sure, there's work involved. Sure, there's some, you know, you're tired. You're going from city to city to city. But I think, you know, as girls, I think we were able to be a little more lighthearted about it. You know, the guys, of course, they're a little more, I don't want to say they're serious, but they kind of come at it in a different way. Whereas for us, we was like, you know, oh, let's make this fun. This is going to be fun. There were some times on the road, you know, I guess there were some times on the road where we had to be a little more security conscientious, you know, than the guys would be. But we always, you know, stuck together. So there was never really any incidences where there was anything tragic that ever happened. There was so much learned going out on the road. There was so much experienced going out on the road. Things that you couldn't, you know, sit at home and learn. it's just a process, an experience, a beingness in it that was such a great learning experience. I mean, I had gone to states and cities that I didn't even know existed. I mean, so it was an opportunity to travel and be paid for the travel at that. I mean, that was the great part. There were many cities, many foods that were experienced being on the road. Being on the road is great. It's just great.
Did you also get out of the country at all during that time?
Yes, we did. We actually we went to Japan 4 times. We toured places in England, like Cambridge, a couple of cities there. We toured Amsterdam and the Philippines and Korea.
So were some of those tracks, were they hits in those places as well?
Oh yeah. To our surprise, I mean, whether their national language was English or not, to our surprise, when they would go to the concerts, they would be singing in English. That was kind of interesting, So we got a lot of great reception from the other countries and stuff like that. It was great.
Cheryl, I'd like you to describe for me, what funk means to you. What makes it so unique and special? And also, why do you think it's not more widely accepted as its own genre, say as, rock or jazz or blues and so forth?
Oh, sure. Well, I think the roots of funk, of course, came from blues and jazz. The thing that I like about funk music is the rhythm, the solid rhythms that are underneath. The ideas of melodies as well as chordal changes and stuff like that, all of that mixed together makes funk music such a unique experience. I mean, it encompasses some gospel, some jazz, some blues, some rock. I mean, it's just kind of a mixture of all of that together, but it has such a solid rhythm, a solid bass for the song. That's really what I really like. I mean, I like a lot of rhythm. My favorite thing to do is play rhythm guitar. I mean, I like that more so than, playing some of the leads. For me, rhythm is just my love. As far as funk music surviving, I don't think it ever died. Now, maybe it might have got a little quiet, but it's interesting because just last Sunday, this is about middle of the week here, I actually went to a club that was for funk music here in, I think it was in Pasadena, California. And they specialize in funk music. And I was surprised that when I went there, I mean, the musicians there, they were having a jam session and the guys would get up there and you could really feel the energy and passion for funk music. I mean, I think there's kind of a resurgence whether, people talk about it or aware of it, but the music itself, I think, is starting to kind of gear back toward that. Musicians around me, that's what we talk about. Yeah, funk music. That was really the foundation for what we're doing now. I mean, I think a lot of the reasons why some of the old school groups are able to tour now is because people miss that type of rhythm, that type of foundation in music. And we have the opportunity to, express it again. And people really are gravitating to it.
That's great to hear. I mean, it's always been my favorite. Let's go back to, that time after you hit it so big and you're flying high. The world is your oyster, so to speak. There's the inevitable sort of, decline. Was there much pressure or thought about trying to replicate that level of success that you had? And, how did you feel about having, the returns, not, diminishing returns, so to speak, in terms of, commercially and maybe financially too? I don't know, but how was that in the band?
Well, one thing we'll have to understand is that the music business or the music sound kind of took a turn when the 90s came in. I mean, you know, the music of the, so I'm gonna say 60s, 70s, and 80s definitely were different than the music when they got to the 90s. When we got to the 90s, you know, being a live band was not popular anymore, you know. I mean, they started, you know, singing to track, hip hop came in, rap came in. So being a full self-contained band really started to be out of date by the time 1990 came. So, you know, I can really remember, of course, it was a big change in my life. I can remember the phone call that I got in August of 1990 where a representative from the management called me and said, "You no longer have a contract with MCA. Have a nice day." Click.
Wow.
I remember it very vividly. Of course, it was a major change in my life, you know, and I couldn't believe it because I had been all of my life trying to get to that point of being, you know, a musical star, a musical musician, a working musician. And then to get that phone call, it really was jolting in a sense of, wow, well, what do I do with my life now? But the music business had changed. And that was the part that I wasn't prepared for. I had no idea could or would happen. You know, one of the things I think that a lot of young artists or any artists coming through, you're not taught or told what could happen next. Only maybe because we all don't know. You know, because one career is different than the next, but different. But I think when music, you know, I guess you can kind of say music changes every decade, or, you know, every 10 years or something. And there's never a post plan, I guess, you know, just in case, you know, an example would be just in case your music has to change, or just in case your music no longer sells, you should do, or you should have, or you should be, there's nobody to teach you that. So you're kind of on your own when you get to that point. And for some artists, you know, it could be a year, 2 years, 3 years. Luckily for Klymaxx, it was 10 years. So, I mean, that when that point gets to where your career metamorphosizes into something else, I mean, you're not prepared. You're not prepared. And I don't know if there is a preparation for it in anybody's individual situation. So, you know, getting that phone call, you know, was, of course, quite devastating. But you have to survive. You have to move on. And I can understand when some artists do get that call, they're not prepared on how to handle it emotionally or mentally. And some artists, you know, take a dive for the worst. And I understand why that would be. Other artists know how to take it in stride and create something else. I mean, for me, I wound up taking another career as being an electrician. Yeah, I know, way away from music. But looking back at my life, it was important for me to learn those skills, because when the knock on the door came for, you know, for me to perform music again, tour music again, I was able to build my own rehearsal room. So, you know, a lot of my life, though it looks like it takes a turn for the not so good, when I look back, it's like, oh, that had to happen because this had to happen. So, yeah, I took those, you know, construction skills, built my own rehearsal room. And I mean, hey, I have free rehearsal time, you know, playing music again. So it's a process. Again, it's all a part of the process.
Yeah, well, kudos to you. You have to be resilient. I think is one of the keys. So, when the band went its separate ways, and then I know, I think it was in 2003, there was a VH1 program that reunited band members, and then there was an unsung show in 2009. Can you talk about those experiences and just also, you know, sort of some of the drama, I guess, that has existed within the original band? Is it creative differences? Is it personality things?
Well, what's interesting is that just to give you a background, one of the running jokes in the band is that I've had the same phone number since they've known me. So, you know, again, one day I get a knock on the door, as I call it, and it was our old management saying, you know, hey, if you can get the rich, you know, if you can get the girls together, you know, back together. This is we had, you know, been from 1990 to 2000, actually 2002. And then I get this phone call saying, if you can get the, you know, girls back together, I'll help you get on some old school tours. So, you know, over the years, you know, they may have called me or whatever. And that's why, you know, I was contacted, because I was kind of the base as to, you know, they would always know my number to call if they didn't know each other's number. So when I called around, you know, to see if they would be interested, I got, you know, all kinds of excuses. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I got too many kids, nobody's going to want to see a bunch of old women up on stage, you know, all these excuses. But again, I believed in the concept. I believed in the, you know, idea of an all-female band. So I really felt that if I kept pushing and, you know, kept, you know, trying to get this thing together, that, you know, they would change their mind. But unfortunately, you know, they didn't. When I, you know, a couple of them said they wanted to do it, then they didn't want to do it. And so one day I found myself being the only original person in the group. So at that point I had to make a choice. Do I continue on or do I stop? And I, you know, really started having the spark of passion for music. So I really wanted to continue. And I was really hoping that, you know, the original girls would change their mind and say, hey, I see you're going to keep going. You know, I want to be a part of it. But that wasn't the case, you know, and unfortunately they, you know, kind of took the low road about it and saying that, you know, I was trying to take something from them when in fact I was trying to continue something for them. But of course that wasn't portrayed on any of the TV shows, because the TV shows want to sell tickets. They want to sell, you know, viewership. They want to get people to buy into the drama. And really, that's all those type of shows are, is to buy into the drama, because they know that that's going to keep their viewership up. But to actually tell the true story was not part of that television show's agenda. Of course, I didn't know that, because I'm thinking, you know, everybody wants to tell the truth, but that wasn't the case. So, you know, logistically, we all equally own the name. So there could be 6 different Klymaxx bands. So I continued on, and even as of today, I've continued on to perform as Klymaxx, because, you know, I mean, I legally own the name also. And I now have a record deal with Multi-Platinum Record Entertainment and Sony, and I've been able to release new music and to continue to tour as Klymaxx.
Well, kudos to you for, you know, continuing to bring that to the people, because I mean, there's so many fans out there, and you know, why should they be deprived of that, is my way of thinking of it.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, as a concert goer today, what should I expect going to one of the current shows, and how does that differ at all from the way the show was, you know, back in the 80s?
Oh, sure. Well, you know, the show back in the 80s, of course, was, you know, high energy, which even today it's high energy. I try to keep as close to the actual concept as originally. You know, it's new energy, new blood now, and I really appreciate the girls that are up on the stage with me, because they understand the whole idea of a self-contained all-female band. It's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy going on stage. We're not going to just stand there and hold the microphone and swing side to side. That's not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of energy. In the original setup, the same thing was a lot of energy. It's about the music. It's about entertaining your audience. It's about entertaining your audience. It's about entertaining your audience. That is really the person who is the most important, is the person that's bought that ticket, the person that's bought that CD. They are the most important entity of that whole process. And that's what my my objective is to perform for that fan who's paid their hard-earned money to come to that concert. I want to give them the best show I can. I may be tired when I get up there. I may have had a bad day. My car may have, like, you know, said something not so nice to me. You know, whatever cars are gonna do. But my responsibility is to give that ticket buying person, fan, friend, family member, whoever puts out that hard-earned money, is to give them the best show that I can give them. That's my goal always.
Do you differentiate at all between, or do you concern yourself with, you know, being looked at as a nostalgia act versus, you know, a band that's kind of, you know, seeking new musical truths, if you will, every time they take the stage? Or, you know, how do you reconcile that with, you know, your presentation?
It's a continuation. It really is. It's a continuation. A lot of people still haven't seen an all-female self-contained band. My goal is to, you know, expand that viewership. You know, it's really surprising even now, you know, when we get on stage and people are like, wow, they really do play. Yeah, we really do play. There's no tracks. There's no, you know, program keyboard, something playing. Everything is live. If somebody comes and unplugs it, they're gonna find out just how live we're playing. You know, everything.
Don't give them ideas.
It's important for me to play live human music.
What aspect of it do you find most fulfilling, you know, in having a music career? Is it the performing, the composing, the arranging, the songwriting, the jamming, the singing? You know, how do you find your truth in the rhythm and the music?
First of all of that is important to me. It's all a part of the musical experience. I don't know if I could say any one thing is more important than the other, because they all work hand in hand. Writing the music, performing the music in the studio, distributing the music, the people buying the music, buying the concert tickets, us getting on stage and performing, getting off stage and taking pictures, signing autographs. It's all a part of the musical experience. It's all a part of the audience enjoying the musical experience.
But is there one or two things of that maybe that you personally find the most fulfilling?
Well, I think being on stage is probably the most fulfilling. Yeah, you know, yeah, it is. It is. It really is. And actually, it's changed since before. Back in the day, I think the writing part and the recording part was more important. But now it's about the live performance is more exciting to me.
Do you have any advice for young musicians just starting out today? I mean, you said it changed in the 90s. Well, it's, you know, and even when you came in the 80s with CDs and all that, I mean, how much has it changed now? I mean, distribution is totally different. You know, there's downloads, there's streaming. You know, it's a whole different world to get discovered and get signed and that kind of thing. What advice would you give an aspiring musician today?
Well, first of all, the music business has changed. Distribution has changed. We have to thank our nice friend Bill Clinton for that bill that he signed back in the 90s for that. So approaching a music career definitely is different now than back then. But there's also great opportunities. As an independent musician, artist, writer, you have the opportunity to really promote your own self, your own music, your own ideas. If I were to give any advice to any artist out there trying to make it, don't stop. If you believe in what you're performing, what you're displaying, don't stop. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be discouraging and naysayers. I mean, even if you paint rocks, I mean, if you feel that your rock can, you know, be a magnificent piece of art, don't let anybody discourage you from selling that piece of art. Music is art. You're displaying your art. You're bearing your soul in your art, your production, your music, your writing. And that is a gift that you're giving to your audience, to the people, to the universe, whatever you want to call it. So you can't stop. You have to continue. Yes, there's going to be some discouraging moments, but you have to believe. You have to believe. You have to believe that you are contributing something that is so unique and so important that you can't stop. You have to push on.
Wow, it's quite a pep talk. I'm ready to go out there and do it. If I only had talent.
That's okay. You'll find something.
Now, I wanted to talk for a moment for the gearheads out there, and the fact that you went into being an electrician. It sounds like maybe you're a bit of a gearhead. I noticed recently, I don't know how long it's been going on, but I think you're using a Telecaster. It looks very much to me like the kind that Prince used back in like '81 around the controversy era. So could you talk about the rig that you use today, and if that's different at all from what you used, you know, years ago?
Sure. Well, let me start with my very first guitar. The oldest guitar that I've had since high school is a Gibson Les Paul. And at the time that I bought it, brand new, was $600.
Wow.
Today it's probably worth, I don't know, close to $4,000, I guess. But it has all, you know, the original everything, you know. And I don't really take it out to play much because it is very special to me. The guitar that I tour with the most is the Fender Telecaster. In funk music, I mean, it has a drive. It has a drive that I really like. It kind of pierces through a lot of the undercurrent in funk music. And so I, play the Telecaster, and actually the way I got it was that we were out on the road back in the 80s. And I was playing a guitar called an Aria at the time with kind of like a little Z design. And the band really didn't like the way it, didn't punch. So I went to, we had a rehearsal while we were on the road. When I got to rehearsal, there was this, the Telecaster was there. And so they said, yeah, we bought that for you. And I think they got it in a pawn shop for like $150. So, I mean, that's the same one that I use now. Of course, I've changed the pickups on it. I've changed them to an EMG pickup. I've had new input put in, because things wear out. So I have had maintenance on it and stuff like that. But it is, it has great sustain, and I really like it when I'm playing on stage and stuff. I have a second guitar on stage that's pretty much shaped the Telecaster stuff, but it's a American standard. Uh-oh, he froze. Oh, it kind of froze there for a minute.
Okay, there you are. Yeah, you froze on talking about the other guitar that you had besides the Telecaster.
Oh yeah, it's called an American Standard, I think. It's actually a handmade guitar. It's shaped pretty much like the Telecaster. And I got, it was an impulse buy at a music store. But I actually have that as my second guitar because I like the Telecaster that I've had for so long. I like the way it feels and sound. But if I break a string on stage, then I pick up the other guitar. And then, like I was saying, I play a JC120 and a processor with the Boss GT8. They have a GT100 now, but I have the GT8, and it works great. I can't put any more. I can't carry any more on the road with me. That's it.
You're freezing up again, but hopefully you're hearing me. Do you get much into the pedals at all?
Yeah, I was saying I use a Boss GT8 processor. They have the 100 out now, but I use the GT8. It works great for me.
So, what else? You know, you're going to be out touring. What else is in the future musically for Cheryl Cooley at this point? What can we look forward to?
Yeah. Oh, well, we are still performing. Like I said, if you go to the website Klymaxx.com, Klymaxx, our calendar is there. All of our music is there. We're actually multi-platinum entertainment. Multi-platinum record entertainment and Sony are actually releasing our new single April 1st, this coming Saturday. And we have our new song is called Love Me. So we're putting new music out all the time, and just our touring, our recording. They're even talking about doing some film stuff. So a lot of great things are happening. NPRE, Sony, they really believe in what I'm doing. They believe in Klymaxx, and they're doing a great job in getting us, working and recording. Great job.
That is great to hear. Is there anything else before we part that you want to plug that we didn't cover?
Oh, okay. So again, please go to our website. It's Klymaxx.com, Klymaxx. Check out our new song called Love Me. We're on Facebook.com/Klymaxx Music. We're going to be playing in Long Beach, California, 15th at the Terrace Theater. We're also on Twitter.com/Klymaxx. We're on Instagram.com/Klymaxx Music. Just go to the website, and all those great links are there. And I just want to, thank the fans and the audiences and people that have believed in Klymaxx music. Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be so well accepted and so well loved. Thank you.
Well, you got it all covered, it sounds like to me. With that, it is time to wrap up this edition of Truth and Rhythm. A huge thanks to our special guest, Ms. Cheryl Cooley. Thank you so much again. And, really appreciate you sharing your time and your experiences with myself and the viewers. Also, sincere thank you to those viewers. And on behalf of Cheryl and myself, until next time, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.